friends, we are looking at the Phoenix set by JMBricklayer, and this set is number 70017, 1,565 pieces, and it's called the Phoenix Nirjana, and I thought maybe that might be a typo, but it's a Sanskrit word that means a final state, a rebirth, a transition, a death. It has a lot of uses, so it's kind of a cool word. JMBricklayer, on their website, they call it the Phoenix Rebirth Brick Art, and that's how you'd find it there. And the box, really cool. We'll look at the box in this video. We'll look at the parts. We'll look at the lighting kit and the instructions and what you can expect. There are some unique things that are going on with this kit that I have not seen before. This is my first JMBricklayer set. I wasn't sure what to expect, but it's unique. They have their own style going on. They have their own kind of almost like build culture. So it was a little bit like unboxing something that was quite fresh, quite new. And you can tell that because they've added, I thought maybe these were logos, but they're actually slogans along the bottom of the box and the top of the box. So they're developing their own culture. I'll give you an example. This first icon says heal, and it says embrace relaxation, embrace joy. This one says joy box. Every adolescent needs a joy box. Please open your joy box. So they came up with a new word. I've never heard that before. I think that's hilarious. Like, yep, I'm an adult. I play with toys. I'm an adolescent. And then this logo says fun. Heading for joy. Welcome to the Unzip Club. That's what that one says. So they have their own culture. I think that's really cool that they have, you know, they're thinking about you, and they've used some English to sort of relay that. As far as the box goes, what we're looking at is a phoenix, right? So the phoenix is a mythical Greek creature that emerges from its own ashes. What I've read is that only one exists at a time, and when its time comes, it actually ends up setting itself on fire, then having a rebirth. So you're seeing a art frame, and you build up this art frame, and then there is a really substantial like volcano scene here. You can't tell, but this actually sticks out. The volcano sticks out maybe 3 or 4 inches. Like, it's quite raised off of the surface of this frame. And then of course you've got the phoenix bird itself, and it stands off from the frame quite a bit too. And there's a couple ways that you can display this. You can display it hung on a wall, or you can hang it, you can hang it with these included hanging pieces, or it has a display stand that's sort of like a kickstand that comes off the back that's attached fairly securely, and that keeps it nice and displayed for like a tabletop. All right, so that's your box. And then as far as the parts go, something new I've never seen before is that the bags are color coded, right? So everything here in red is bag 1, bag 2 is yellow, bag 3 is blue, 4 is green, 5 is this purple. And you know what? I'm digging it. I like that they color coded it. It made it so much easier to find the bags. The only side effect here is that they use coloring for this printing. So this essentially is white plus the color, and there's this like regulatory tiny print that's in blue. And what ends up happening is when you're looking at the parts, the blue print actually interacts with the part and makes the part look like it's a different color than it really is. So I noticed that on a couple things where I was looking at it and it almost looked like it was a marbled part, and I thought to myself, oh, it comes with marbled parts. But that's not what was happening. What was happening was the text. I was looking at the text and the part, and then between the two of them, it looked like it was a marbled color, but it's not. Hard to tell on camera, but That's what was going on. Hope you like gold ingots. You get a bunch. And so that's cool. I really like that part of it, that they are color-coded bags. And these are, of course, compatible with the major brands like Lego. And they're using part types and part colors that should feel familiar. There were, oh, there's some gold in here, which I appreciate. All right, so there's some gold in there. I did find one part that was a little bit unusual. It's this one here. So maybe this has been around in the catalog for a while. I've just never personally received one of these before or had one of these, but leave a comment if you know where this came from. If you need flame pieces, this set has the biggest collection of flame pieces I've ever seen, including these wings that I think they either came from Chima or Ninjago or something, but they've got these wing pieces, and I got quite a few of those to help achieve that translucent look on the wings. Pretty neat. Speaking of translucent, I bet you've never seen translucent Mixel ball joint pieces before, but you get a bunch of those. So ball on one side, joint or socket on the other side. Quite a few of those in there. But if you're a fan of translucent orange, man, there's so much translucent orange in order for them to pull off this effect of just letting you have light come through, I think is an important part of why they have this translucent orange. Speaking of which, there is a light kit that this comes with, and the lighting, I believe, goes along the sides. And let's get a little closer. It goes along the sides here where you see it's in red. It comes into play for the volcano area at the bottom. And then there is a light that goes up here to the Phoenix's eye. And so we'll look at the lighting kit. We'll look at the instructions. And then, oh, I almost forgot. Yeah, you get quite a few 16 by 16 plates. All right, so let's look at the lighting kit. Comes boxed separately, which is nice. It reminds me of some other brands that do this. And then you've got two bags in here, bag 1 and bag 2. And we'll come back to those. You also get some other things in here. So this is a first. This is almost like a support card. Tells you how to get support, but it includes little like finger cozies. I mean, if you build a lot, then yeah, your fingers will start to hurt, and that's happened to me before when I'm building more than usual. So now I have a little finger cozy that I can use to press stuff down or whatever. I don't know how practical this is because it's hard to pick up pieces when you're wearing something like this, but oh hey, it says creative products. Does this say anything? Efficient service. So it's clever. This is somebody was in a brainstorming meeting on how we could stand out, differentiate ourselves. What gift can we give to people that they will remember? And their idea won out, and here it is. The other thing that's in this box is tweezers. JMBricklayer. It actually says the name of the company. That's cool. And these are metal tweezers with a non-sharp edge to them. And these are perfect for grabbing the wiring when you need to manipulate the wiring, plug it in, take it out. These are perfect. So it's really great they include those. You get a brick separator. This is the most unusual brick separator I have ever seen, hands down. I mean, it has a ring on the back. I'm not sure what you could do with that. It does have instructions for how to use the different features on here, but it looks fairly similar to the functionality you get from the traditional brick separator, but there may be some benefits to this design. I'm not sure. The other thing this box comes with is 2 sets of these hangers. I believe these are wall hangers, and these are the sharp edges, sharp side. And I think the way this works is you attach this here and then you use a hammer to strike this part, and then that goes into your wall And but here in, at least where we live, this probably would not be sufficient for wall hanging. You'd probably want to drive a you know, a nail or a really much longer screw through this hole first. Yeah, or at least get an anchor kit, especially if you have drywall. So that probably will work if you're securing directly to wood, but I'm not sure how well that would work without bringing your own materials. But let's look at the light kit too, so you get a sense for what's in here. Bag one is the majority of the lighting. And so I'm going to show you here. What we're seeing is translucent 2x2 bricks. And there's a little better lighting. And a lot of wiring. Look how tiny that is. And some of these are quite short, it look like. So they're meant to run. Some are meant to run in between lighting elements. And then here's that 1x1 stud. I think that's probably for the Phoenix's eye. All right, and then also in this bag, you get 4 of these lighting elements. And as far as I can tell, each of these works like a light strip where it has connectors where you can connect it to the next one. And then I think this is probably the light element, the LED or the whatever it is that is emitting light is coming from those. Yeah, so that's what's in this particular kit, or this particular bag. Let's look at this bag. So this bag, you get a USB to USB-C. Let me just move this light a little bit. We can maybe get a little bit more light. There you go. So you get a cable, and you get a box. Now this box, unlike other kits, this box has multiple functions. So this box is a battery box. So they've thought about the fact that when you build this, if you hang it on a wall, how do you keep powering it? How do you power it, right? Do you want to run a USB line up to it? That's going to look pretty ugly. So what they've done is they have a self-contained battery box that has all the wire connections that code to it, and then it has an on-off switch, and it has a USB-C connector so that you can charge this battery box. And so you connect this USB-C to it, it charges it up, then you can disconnect it, and then you can turn it on and it'll light up the rest of your display. The other thing that's unique here is that this is a 3-way special switch. So it has your off, it has an on, but it also has a third option in the middle indicated with that little starburst. And what that is a light sensor. So it works like a night light where if it senses the ambient light has dipped down, or if you turned off the lights in the room, then it'll come on. And then if you turn the lights on in the room again, if it's bright enough, it'll turn off. So that is a clever addition in case you want to use this as a night light or an ambient light. Let's say it's in your TV room where you're frequently in there, but you don't always have the lights on at full blast. You can have the Phoenix decorate and stand out in that room because of this special brick box. So this is really unique. I did not expect something like that. That's some special engineering that went into that particular piece. Pretty cool. All right, and then here is the instruction book. Thick, matte finish. Again, has some of their, let's call them value statements along the bottom there. Pretty cool. And then as we open it up, they have some lifestyle photography. You know, you can put it on the wall, you can put it on your coffee table, and this is a really minimalist room. These people have nothing in their house. That's nice. Some people love that. Part assembly order, obviously start with bag 1. Don't start with bag 5. That's a free tip from me to you. And there's also all these ways to get in contact with them, which is pretty cool. And then tells you how to, of course, size. So here's the usage of the brick separator. This really unique separator. I mean, it looks like a weapon out of the game Halo. I mean, it's a weird looking thing, but hey, if it works. So here on this end of it is your separator piece. This is your, your leverage separator. And of course, you've got the pin remover, but it doesn't say what that circle does. Maybe that's just to put it on a keychain, or maybe you get a good grip on it with your finger. You can put your finger in it. This is something I hadn't seen before, which is it tells you can use the tweezers to help apply stickers. Why didn't I do that before? I've had tweezers before and I haven't used the tweezers to put on stickers, and now I know. So I'm glad they pointed that out. This kit, though, does not have any stickers as far as I know, by the way. All right, and then here's a better look at the lights that are included. So you've got these 2x2 bricks that are all lit. Oh, it looks like there's 2 of these 1x1 studs, and then 4 of these light bars or light strips. And then notice they have tiny little wires that act as a jumper between them, and then 1 more of these 2x2s, and they all go into this battery box / hub. And it does mention that the battery is not replaceable. I didn't know what that meant at first, and then I realized, oh, they're talking about this little brown battery box. That's not replaceable. I don't know. I mean, it has screws on the bottom of it, 2 screws, so maybe it is replaceable. Yeah, let me know if you've ever tried. And then it gives you some information about how to work with these parts, because they are on the more fragile side. And then they tell you how to use that box. Here's what you're building per bag. So frame on the first bag, and you keep building up that frame until you have built up the volcano, and then you've built up the Phoenix and added it. And the other thing, so we're just flipping through here now. You'll see that old steps are grayed out in light blue, so that you can focus on the new parts that you're applying to the build. As I went through here, I realized they do have some special parts for the wiring. So I wasn't sure, because with other brands, they include those specialized parts in a separate bag. But in here, you can see that they have one of those parts that has grooves built into the underside, so that you can place it over your wiring without crimping it. So, and I saw that on a couple pages. So they do have at least 2, maybe 3 of those parts that I could find just kind of casually looking through here, that have those grooves in it. Here's another example of that. There's a 2x2 that has those grooves. So I'm glad they did that. Thank you for doing that. One thing I noticed about these instructions is they are a little bit dark with the printing. So this is supposed to be, I think, a dark brown. And rather than the better way to do this probably is to outline the studs in white instead of black. So here, this is they're using black as the line outline, but really it should be white so that you can count the studs. You can tell the parts up from each other here for this little assembly, or even here, right? Like you can't quite tell what type of part you're going to go and look for. So I'd love for them to maybe change that up, use white there instead of black for those illustrations. But aside from that, the instructions are very well paced. Doesn't feel too cramped or too many steps per page. Let's take a look here as we're building up this volcano section. You'll see, I mean, it's quite a sizable build as you're building that up. It's getting taller and taller, and this might be almost close to the full height of it. I mean, look how many bricks tall that is, that it's kind of sticking out from the front of that frame. And so here you're getting ready to attach it to the frame. They're giving you guidance on the wiring. Just make sure you do it right. Don't mess up the wiring. And then the final pages here are all about building the Phoenix, which is extremely detailed. It's quite ornate. Like it's probably going to feel a little bit like a sculpture, like a fine art sculpture by the time you're done. That's the way that it's reading to me as I'm going through it. Oh, and yep, here's the hooks. They're called traceless hook installation. So yeah, they're there to help you with installing to the wall. And then it looks like this might be the optional stand and instructions for putting the stand on the back. And it looks like it's pretty well integrated and hopefully will not break off, because this piece is going to be quite heavy by the time we're done. You know, even the weight of you're essentially taking that weight of that box, and which is a heavy box, and you're putting it all the weight on this little easel type kickstand, and hoping it won't tip over. I am surprised that they didn't go wider for that base. I would have expected a little bit wider than this, but you know, they probably tested it and they realized that was plenty. That width was enough. And then some information about the lighting and how it's going to work, and instructions. And there you go. And then there's some additional things that they sell. And speaking of the of what they sell, they do have this at like 20% off right now on their website. So be sure to check that out. And I'll have a link over to the product page. But there you go. This is a look at it. I look forward to building it. It's always fun to discover the different ways that different companies approach brick sets. And there's definitely some sort of creative director hired at this company to think about the overall experience. And so they do have a unique take on what they want the builder's experience to be like. And so I really appreciate that. They've clearly thought it through, all the way to the point of thinking through their brand values, making sure it's on multiple places, thinking about how what the experience would be like. And if joy is part of their brand values, I think they've hit it, because it's colorful. I feel like they really wanted me to enjoy the build. All right, I hope that was helpful. If you liked the video, please hit like. And if you could subscribe, that means a lot to me. It helps me to keep doing these videos. Okay, thank you.